You've talked about the fact that potentially people can carry or even transmit the virus even if they're vaccinated. Does that mean we could have COVID circulating in our communities for years because even protected people could be carrying it around and giving it to each other?
Theoretically, yes, but I don't think that's the case, because what I think, and I don't know yet for sure, but I think what will happen, though, even though people who get vaccinated and get infected without symptoms would likely have such a low level of virus in their nasopharynx that they would very inefficiently, if at all, transmit it to anybody else. I don't know that, but I think that's where we'll be going.
When we start the deployment of this vaccine, we will not have sufficient concrete data to prove that this vaccine reduces transmission. Do I believe it reduces transmission? Absolutely, yes.
I don't know that, but I think that's where we'll be going. As we get into February, March, April, May, and June, you're going to have a lot more vaccines that are going to be put into people's arms. And that's the thing that's going to keep that trend going down.
Our results show that this vaccine can prevent you from being sick. It can prevent you from being severely sick. They do not show that they prevent you from potentially carrying this virus transiently and infecting others.
I believe that once you get a massive amount of people vaccinated globally, one of the best ways to prevent viruses from evolving into mutations is to dampen greatly the level of virus replication in the community.
Our results show that this vaccine can prevent you from being sick. It can prevent you from being severely sick. They do not show that they prevent you from potentially carrying this virus transiently and infecting others. When we start the deployment of this vaccine, we will not have sufficient concrete data to prove that this vaccine reduces transmission. Do I believe it reduces transmission? Absolutely, yes. And I say this because of the science. But absent proof, I think it's important that we don't change behaviors solely on the basis of vaccination.
Well, but their clinical trial didn't include any of that as even a possibility within the clinical trial. The clinical trial did not measure the presence or absence of a virus or a virus fragment. The clinical trial did not measure the possibility of transmission suppression. The clinical trial didn't measure any of those things. So this is a case of misrepresentation of a technology, and it's done exclusively so that they can get themselves under the umbrella of public health laws that exploit vaccination.
Yeah, I'm letting that sink in for a minute, because what you're saying is very different from what most of us have heard in the mainstream news and even from the press releases from these companies.
And no, but that's because people aren't reading the actual clinical trials. If you read the clinical trials, nothing that I'm saying is even remotely different. As a matter of fact, the companies themselves have actually said what I'm saying. They said they could not test for the existence or absence of the virus, and they could not test for the transmissivity because they said it would be impractical. So the companies themselves have admitted to every single thing I'm saying.
There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. The EUA for the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is in effect for the duration of the COVID-19 EUA declaration justifying emergency use of the product, unless the declaration is terminated or the authorization is revoked sooner.